You got Angel with all of her hype, and then you got Caitlyn with all of her hype. And then how do they come to the pros and over excel? Like, it's hard to meet expectations in general. And definitely when you go from college to pro, it's even harder to meet expectations. They did all that and above.
You've made an impact in the WNBA. And congratulations on your new documentary, A Radical Act on Roku.
Yes.
When and where, or when and how did you know that a documentary was the right way for you to explain the changes you've made in your life leading up to this point?
Yeah, I still didn't even know. I mean, honestly, I'm nervous as I sit here now because it's very vulnerable to make a documentary. Like as an athlete, of course, we can do interviews after interviews. We can talk about basketball. I have a bad game. Okay, it happens. But this documentary is like about my life and growing up in it has archival footage from West Virginia that people haven't even seen before because my snook has just been keeping tabs and receipts on everything. So I think for me, somebody had mentioned that, sometimes your story is for someone else. And it's like, you lived your story, but your story might help someone else in their journey. And so when somebody told me that, I think that was kind of the moment where it's like, okay, maybe because if it was for me, it's not gonna get made. It's like my wife is the one that wanted to get it made, and then when we had a lot of offers come our way, I'm like, okay, so this is actually really happening. Yeah. But it's so weird when you're yourself. It's like, I feel like everybody has a story, and so why would people wanna hear mine? And that's but I leaned into the fact that my family was basically telling me like, okay, you should do this, and we did it.
Well, that's amazing. No, seriously, congratulations on that. That's something, like you mentioned, like the vulnerability, the dedication to getting it all put together. Like, that's not easy.
Oof. 3 years in the making.
Like, that's insane.
We filmed for 3 years. Think about 3 years of your life getting filmed. So that's why it's like this project, it was 3 years that got put into 144, which is an hour and 44 minutes. And it's just like...
To cut all that down, too.
Shouts to the team. Shouts to the team.
Right.
The director, Sandrine, and all of the team behind her, because I don't even want to see my face that much. Yeah, it's like, I'm so sad for them to have done that.
No, that's cool. And I love in the documentary you talk about how the league has changed. And I feel like this season in the W has a special place of its own in history.
Definitely.
So I would love to talk with you about some of the really exciting things that have happened so far this year. But first and foremost, who in the league right now has surprised you the most, good or bad?
Ooh. I would say surprised me the most would probably be Dejanay Carrington. I just think that what she did in a off-season span is crazy. Like, you went from trying to find your rotation spot to you're a starter and a vital piece and could have easily been most improved, all defensive team. Like, that type of jump in one off-season is wild. So I always love when players, you can just see when players put in that work, and you can see she put in that work.
Yep. The rookie girls between Cameron Brink, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
Those girls brought in a growing fan base of their own. I'm curious, in your opinion, is there something about these girls that helped grow the league, or do you feel like it was just the time was coming, or what about those girls brought this crazy attention?
Well, first of all, they're superstars. I think that can't be overlooked, and they're superstars in every sense of the term. Imagine they come out of college with all the hype. I mean, you got Angel with all of her hype, and then you got Caitlyn with all of her hype. And then how do they come to the pros and over excel? It's hard to meet expectations in general. And definitely when you go from college to pro, it's even harder to meet expectations. They did all that and above. They played better. They broke records. So I think the first thing is that they're superstars in every sense of the term. And then also when you think about a Cameron Brink, Rekia Jackson, Angel Reese, and all of them, they're influencers as well.
Oh my God, they're on outfits. I'm like,
yes, they're fashion
I need a stylist.
Yes, they're literally fashion models. Cameron Brink, her build, she looks like she should be walking the runway right now. Rekia Jackson as well. Angel Reese, she's always, on her social media. She's an influencer. So not only are they great superstar basketball players, but they're influencers, which is kind of where sports and entertainment is going anyway. So that nucleus built on a WNBA that was already primed to explode, it was like the volcano was over at that point.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned the influence, because I know everyone loves talking about Caitlin Clark, and of course it seems like she's always finding some sort of drama between fans or players talking about her, but I know future rookies are always going to be able to have a similar platform as her, and I feel like it's going to come. Do you feel like players that have platforms like hers, Angel Reese, should use their platform to stand for things that are not only important for them, but for the league as well? Like, how important is that?
Yeah, I think, there's a point, because I remember there were certain athletes that used to be like, yo, I'm not a role model. Like they would outwardly say it, and they would literally say like, you need to raise your kids, because don't have me raising your kids. But I do also think that there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with being a professional athlete. Like, unfortunately, we are role models. You can't tell that kid that's looking up to you, hey, don't look up to me, buddy. Like, I'm not the one. I mean, you literally might be able to tell them that, but also it's kind of like, but then if they're watching, how are you gonna move?
It's that weird line.
It's that weird line. It's like if you're a big sister or a big brother and your little sister or little brother's watching you, how are you gonna move, and how would you want them to move? And so I think that that's kind of the line where it's like, I don't think anyone has to go on a soapbox and be the voice of any type of movement.
Right.
But I also do think there's that fine line where it's like, if something is super wrong, and know that you're a role model, there's that. It is a fine line, because no one has to do anything. Like a lot of times people will try to tell athletes what to do with their money, tell athletes what to do with their platform. No one has to do anything, but there is that fine line of like, okay, being the role model that I am and knowing that I do have this platform, what things should I do with it?
Of course, we have to talk to you about Paige Beckers as a UConn alum.
Why do you say? I was like, uh-oh, what's happening?
As a UConn alum, I feel like she's about to ball out.
Yeah.
So do you think that the team has got all the right pieces? Obviously, this is very early, but do you feel like they're going to have all the right pieces to win it all?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like, you could ask me that every year, and I think my answer is always going to be similar to the same, but also in the sense of last year, UConn was really, really beat down and still found a way to compete night in and night out. Paige is coming back, another healthy offseason, so I'm so happy for her for that, because just any athlete that's been through the rehab process, you don't wish it on nobody. And so Paige has just overcome so much. She's also just a really dope human. I know that we're not talking about that, but when you talk about people using their platform, she willingly volunteers as tribute. She's always like, listen, I know I'm receiving this award right now, but shouts to Black women. Like, she's the one that just does that. So on top of her being an amazing athlete and also being on a world tour,
oh my God, right. That's a perfect way to put it.
I literally love everything about it, because we were talking about athletes and how now they're more than whatever, you know what I mean? So they're athletes, she's an influencer, she's everything right now. She is modeling. She's at fashion shows. I was at New York Fashion Week, and I'm like, Paige.
What's up, girl?
It's like, what in the world? I'm seeing Paige everywhere, and it should be, because she's what we were talking about before. She is a superstar, and that's what superstars do.
This is a bold, very early season prediction, but do you think that she's going to go #1 overall, or where do you see her landing potentially?
I mean, yes. I just think that it's everything is at Paige's fingertips. Like, she's going to control everything of that destiny, whether it's Player of the Year, whether it's a championship, whether it's top of the draft. I feel like this is the position that as an athlete you want to be in, where you can control your own destiny. I think she's healthy, so sometimes you can't control your own destiny, because you're like, dang, I wish I was healthy. I can't move like I am. Now my knee is messed up, my shot is off. All those things matter. So being healthy, that's why we say it takes a little bit of luck to win a championship or to be successful, because being healthy is that little bit of luck. And so I think I'm just happy for her for the opportunity to be whatever she wants to be this year.
Hey, sports fans, if you want to see more conversations with athletes and stars, check out these videos right here, and be sure to subscribe for more from USA Today Sports.